Hi, my name is Coco and I'm from Ghana.
And I'm Chris and I'm from Nigeria. And today we're going to welcome you on another exhilarating episode on the Coco and Chris podcast.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about 10 healthy masculine values that you should be embodying on your journey towards masculine mountain.
Now, the number one most important value is faith. Now, what do I mean when I talk about faith? Faith equals belief plus actions. Now, I don't want this to go over your head, right? Many times when people think about faith, they're only thinking about, oh, I believe in something. But if you're not taking consistent action on what you say that you believe in, then basically you do not have any faith. Now, look at your life. What are the things that you're consistently doing right now, whether good or bad? If it's bad, you consistently wake up late. You consistently have bad hygiene. Now, what's happening is that you actually have faith in the wrong things. Take, for example, a couple of years back, I decided that I believe that one day I'm going to be this mega successful entrepreneur. So what did I do? I started reading books. I started taking consistent action in alignment with my beliefs. That basically is what faith is. And I'll let Coco take you out on the next one.
All right, so I got you guys on the second healthy masculine value that you should be embodying, and that is having a growth mindset. So I don't want to stretch this. I'll just go into a quick story of something that actually happened quite recently in my life. I was talking to an acquaintance of mine, and as we were getting deep in the conversation, I realized that this person could benefit from some of the material that I had consumed from when I started my personal development journey, right? So I told him, yo, listen, there's this book that I'd like to recommend to you, man. It really helped me, gave me perspective, and helped me make these positive changes in my life. So I would like to share that book with you so that you could potentially experience these positive improvements in your life if you read it and apply them to your life. And he's like, yeah, man, sure, send it my way. And I'm like, cool. So I go out of my way. I go into my books app on my iPhone. I do whatever, and I send it through WhatsApp to him, right? And he's like, yeah, man, thank you so much. I'll check it out, and I'll let you know what I think. And I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll drill you, though, in like the next couple weeks on the book, because I'm not just going to give it to you and just not check up on you. Because what kind of friend would I be or acquaintance would I be if I'm actually trying to help someone? It's not about just like, hey, give them what they need and like, okay, now shoot, right? So I'm like, all right, I'll check in with you in a couple of weeks to see where your head is at with all the material that you're consuming. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So 3 days later, I get a message from him saying, hey, man, what's up? Everything cool? And I'm like, yeah, everything's cool. He's like, yeah, dude, so the book that you gave me, I have a different belief, and I don't subscribe to the beliefs in the book, and this and that and this. So because of that, I can't read the book. And I'm like, bet, right? And that's just an example of someone who I would say has a kind of fixed mindset, because they were not open to the possibility of what the book's knowledge entailed, or the possibility of the fruits that could have been born, or if they embodied some of the principles in the book, right? So as a masculine man, or as an aspiring masculine man, you should be open to growth in every area of your life, because the truth is, if you're not growing, you are dying. That's just
true.
what it is.
Facts.
There's no middle ground.
Facts.
So if you're doing something and you stop doing it, you're going to get shitty at it. When I was in high school, I used to play a lot of basketball. I was pretty good. I was a shooting guard and kind of like a point guard, but more of a shooting guard. And I stopped playing basketball about 7 years ago. And I remember recently I went to a court and thought I still had it. In my mind, I thought I still had it. But when the ball was passed to me and I started to dribble, and I tried to shoot the ball, dribbling was fumbly, shot the ball, air ball, shot the ball again, hit the rim, shot the ball again, hit the rim again, laid up the ball, missed. What does that tell you? It means my basketball skills died because I was not growing them. I was not consistently putting in the work to make them sharp. So as a man, in every area of your life, in your relationship, if you have a wife, if you have family that you care about, if you have a job or a profession, if you have a fitness regime, whatever area of your life, you should have the mindset that how can I grow in this? Because like I said, once you stop growing, it's kaput for you. So next point, back to Chris.
All right, there is this value that I love so much. Matter of fact, I'm just joking. I still struggle with it every day. And it's called courage. A lot of people get courage twisted completely. Now, courage does not mean that you are absent of fears in your life. No one, no human being, is completely devoid of fears in their life.
Impossible.
Unless you're a sociopath, or maybe even a psychopath. Like Hitler, and that totally makes sense. But you see, courage means that you move in spite of your fears. So you acknowledge that the fear is there, even if your palms are sweaty, even if your heart is palpitating, beating non-stop, you feel like you're about to have a mini heart attack, you still move in spite of your fears. I know the anxiety is there. I'll give you an example. When I started learning sales, I studied a lot of Grant Cardone's material, and it had to do with a lot of cold calls, and I never made cold calls before. So I made a list of prospects and companies that I wanted to do business with, and I had their number right in front of me. I had to learn to make those cold calls. I didn't want to do it. I was scared, but I still made it anyway. And what usually happens is that after you move past the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, you start to snowball. You start to have a rhythm, and your courage increases, and then your fears start to decrease. But you would always feel that fear. But your job is to move in spite of it. Coco will take you on the next one.
Okay, so the fourth masculine value that you should aspire to embody as a young man or as a man trying to up your masculinity is personal accountability. There is no growth without personal accountability. Now, in my own life, and I used to be embarrassed to share this. Now I don't really care anymore because this was a long time ago. But it took me 6 years to finish a 4-year degree. Now, I studied agricultural science in university. It is not an easy subject. It's a very, very diverse subject. Constitutes of agricultural economics, soil chemistry, soil microbiology, agribusiness, soil physics, biotechnology, genetics, entomology, and a whole bunch of other stuff, man. I haven't even spoken about going into the planting and the process of farming and all that. But I studied all of that, right? And throughout my first 3 years in uni, pissed them away completely. If I'm being completely honest with myself, I pissed especially the first 2 years, pissed it completely away. And come the third year, I had to look at myself in the mirror and make a decision because my education was basically on the line. Because in universities, if you don't meet a certain GPA mark, you get kicked out of school. Mm-hmm. And that's where it was. Not because I'm dumb, but I just was not applying myself. And I had to take personal accountability in those situations and say, Coco, you're flunking out because you are flunking out on purpose. You are not doing what you need to do to be prepared to get the results that you need to get to be able to excel in this university. And it was a very painful conversation I had with myself. It was a tough one. It's not easy to call your own self out and actually start taking actions to right your wrongs. So I ultimately had to do that. And I remember there was this course, genetics. I hated genetics. First time I did genetics, hard F, right? When I wrote it the second time, I think I got a B. Another course, biochemistry. Ooh, I hated that one. First time I wrote, I didn't even write the paper. And if my mom sees this or my dad sees this, they're going to be like, what? But yeah, mom and dad, I didn't write that paper.
Things happen.
I didn't write the first paper. I'm sorry. But yeah, I didn't write that paper because I was shook. I was scared. I didn't have courage in that moment because I was not prepared. So I didn't write the paper. Automatic fail, right? And 3 years later, when I wrote that paper, I studied, prepared, and I wrote it. And funny enough, everything I learned during that period to pass that exam was not from my lecture notes. It was actually from YouTube. And when the results came after the exam, I had a solid A in biochemistry. A course that 3 years ago I wanted nothing to do with. But 3 years later, because I took accountability, looked myself in the mirror and said, dude, you're messing up, man. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I started doing what I needed to be doing to be able to get that result. So, want to be more masculine? You got to hold yourself super accountable for every single thing that happens in your life. Everything. Sometimes it may not be your fault, but assume it's your fault. To just continuously put yourself in a state where you hold yourself accountable and you put the responsibility of the things that happen in your life on yourself. So that's all I got for self-accountability, having personal accountability with yourself. And I'd like to pass the mantle back to Chris.
Thank you. Now I take you on the fifth one, and it's my personal favorite. And I say this in no form or fashion as a joke, and it's integrity. Actually, I think I should have integrity tattooed on my forehead, honestly, because you might as well just go ahead and call me Mr. Integrity. Integrity basically means consistency in your thoughts, in the words that you articulate, and in your actions. A lot of people think integrity is just honesty, but yes, that is some part of it. You're being honest with yourself. But if you think it and you say it, you must do it. So how do you define yourself? For instance, I am a good person. Okay, you thought it first, and then you said it, and then your actions must actually show that you are indeed a good person. That's what integrity basically embodies. Now, before I pass it over to Coco, I want you to do me a favor. If you've been getting any value at all from watching this video, I want you to hit the like button. I want you to comment and share this video with somebody who you believe can also gain value from it. Pass it to Coco.
All right, so healthy masculine value number 6, empathy. Not a lot of guys are talking about empathy in these spaces, having empathy as a man. A lot of people talk about being strong and being stoic and, you don't smile and, as the Nigerian guys would say, form hard guy, But as a man, and if you aspire to be a masculine man, a man who people look up to, a man who people admire and respect, you are going to have empathy.
Absolutely.
It's not possible to gain people's respect without caring about them. You may get them to fear you, but if you have empathy, if you show empathy, if you show that you are a warm human being, the respect level is different. You can get people to do things that they would otherwise never do for someone else, just because you showed them that you cared, right? So when it comes to empathy, it's about having empathy for people and having empathy especially for yourself. Because as human beings, as we go through our day-to-day lives, we make a lot of decisions. Some of them conscious, some of them unconscious. And we tend to make a lot of mistakes. And no one is harsher on us than us. So sometimes you have to look in the mirror, tell yourself, so and so and so, which is your name, right? So if your name is Kofi, if your name is Chukunomso, if your name is Chukuma, whatever your name is, you look at yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself, dude, I know I made this mistake, but it's okay. I'll get it right the next time. Right? Don't be too hard on yourself, because the truth is, every man made a mistake. Every man who ever existed has made a mistake. The only man who did not make a mistake throughout his entire life was Jesus Christ.
That's it.
No one else, right? And he's who we should aspire to be. But we can never be like him in full perfection, but we should aspire to be like him, right? I'm not the most devout Christian, but I do embody these Christian beliefs. That's why I speak about them. I'm not afraid to speak about them. I know we live in a time where everyone is, kind of afraid of the subject, but I boldly speak on this. I do believe in my Christian faith. I do believe in Jesus Christ, and I do believe in his mission and what he came to do on this earth. Anyway, so back to empathy. So if we do not have empathy for ourselves, you're going to be beating yourself up every single day, right? And there's nothing more unattractive than a man who's consistently beating himself up. No one wants to be around that man. Men don't want to be around him. Women don't want to be around him. Even his own family eventually will get tired of his
pity party.
His pity party, exactly, right? So in those moments where you feel super down, oh, I can't get anything right, I keep making these mistakes and this and that, and he said this and she said that, just tell yourself, you know what, we're all sinners. No one is perfect. They probably have some sins, that I don't know about, but because my sins are evident right now, they get to point the finger. So just tell yourself, you know what, they're sinners too, but they got me this time. And it's not like you're going to get them, but they got you, and you look at it as they got me, but you know what, they ain't perfect as well, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I mean, in certain situations, when you do mess up big time, you might want to be a bit, still you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. You should display empathy where you've hurt someone or where you've caused some damage. But you don't want to be too hard on yourself where now it begins to affect your own livelihood. It affects your mood. It affects how you interact with people. It affects your work. It affects your relationship, right? You don't want to do that. So I'm going to leave you with this. You want to have empathy, especially for yourself. And if you can have empathy for yourself, you will automatically have empathy for the people around you. All right? So I'm going to hand the mic over to Chris. Even though I'm not holding a mic, but you understand it's a metaphorical mic, I'm going to hand the mic over to Chris.
Beautiful.
And he will hit you with the next point.
So now this brings us to number 7, which is consistency. I have never in my life achieved any form of success by doing something a few times or doing it just once. Remember back, Coco talked about him being so good at playing basketball, being a point guard. And all of a sudden, you know, he comes back into it after a few months or years. And it's like, oh, man, I still got this. Dribble, fumble. Shots, airball, fumble, airballs, right? Whatever it is that you're going to do in life, if you're going to reach a certain level of greatness, excellence, maybe even perfection, you're going to have to do the same thing over and over and over again. Michael Jordan did not become great. Kobe Bryant, with the Mamba mentality, did not become great by only practicing with the team. As a matter of fact, Kobe put in 6-7 more hours per day, aside from the training that he did with the team. And that's how he became Kobe. That's how we all know him today as Mamba mentality, right? So if you're going to be successful at anything, what is, achieving a great physique, you're going to have to go to the gym, maybe an hour, and do it at least 4 to 5 days a week. But if you want to become great at sales, you're going to have to train every day. You want to get greater communication, you're going to have to train every day. You want to be successful as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to go in and work hard and do this over and over and over. One of my mentors, Dan Locke, High Ticket Closing, you know what he told one of his clients? He said, I'm going to teach you sales, but you're going to have to role play over and over and over. And when you're tired, you're going to role play some more. I push it back to Coco now to give you number 8.
All right, so masculine value number 8, fitness and health. I mean, it's pretty evident, right? Where's the masculinity without the fit body and the healthy body, with the strength, right? There can't be masculinity, not muscles.
There's a difference.
There's a difference, not muscles. Fitness and health. Being fit, being healthy, being able to do physically challenging tasks without breaking down as a man.
Running out of breath.
Right? In today's world, the average man has what? Dad bod, pot belly, can barely do a push-up, can barely do a pull-up, can barely do a sit-up, can barely run a mile. The average man today can barely do shit, basically. Mm-hmm. And we wonder why women are saying, where are all the good men gone? Right? Because that is a real phenomenon. A lot of men don't like to take accountability for that part, but it is the truth. Where are the real men gone? Right? I'm not saying I'm a real man, right? But where are the real men gone? Because you guys, some of you, make no effort at all in your fitness, in your health. There's nothing respectable about it. Mm-hmm. Really and truly. Throughout my life, right? When I decided to take my fitness serious, this was in 2015. Because throughout my life, I used to play a little basketball from 2007, 2008, 2009, 2012, all the way to 2015. I was playing basketball. I was on my high school team. I played a bit in uni, not on the uni team, but we used to play some scrimmages here and there in the nighttime. You know, those 12 a.m., those ones. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so when I decided to take my fitness seriously, when I decided to, like, okay, I want to get shredded, I want to get a six-pack, I went all the way. I made the necessary sacrifice. I stopped eating all the bad foods. I started sleeping earlier. I started drinking more water. I put the Coke down, the Fanta down, the Sprite down. I started drinking iced tea. I remember I drank a lot of iced tea. I used to buy a lot of iced tea, right? But it was a necessary sacrifice to get my fitness to the next level. Because I had the arms, I had the chest, but I was lacking the six-pack. And right now, I'm kind of lacking the six-pack right now. Because what? I didn't remain consistent. Obviously, I'm much older now. I'm in my 30s. This time that I'm talking about, I was in my early 20s. Huge age gap, right? So those of you in your 30s, you know what I'm talking about. Obviously, what you could do in your young 20s, you should be able to do it in your 30s if you take care of yourself. But if you don't do the best to take care of yourself, there's some things that you won't be able to do in your 30s. For me, in my instance, something happened to me in the gym in my mid-20s that has affected the trajectory of the way I handle fitness in my life since 2016, which was in my mid-20s. And even though that happened, that made me fall off. I gained weight. A lot of things happened. A lot of depression. It's a whole story I don't want to get into. But I was able to bounce back from that because I had a growth mentality. And I had the courage to do what was needed to be done to be able to get the results that I needed to get, right? So your fitness and your health as a man is really a non-negotiable. Really and truly it is not. Because let's say you're walking with your wife or you're walking with your kids and some dude, some assailant attacks you guys. What are you going to do? Are you going to call the police first? Because it's in the moment, right? I've had my own personal experience with violence. Violence happens in a matter of seconds. You can be victimized in a matter of seconds. It doesn't even have to be, it could be 5 seconds. And your whole life will change, right? So calling the police in a situation like that, yes, some situations, should you call the police? Of course, be smart. You see the situation, life-threatening, call the police. But if you see it's a situation that you can be the first point of defense, that's your duty to do that. And you can't do that if you're not fit and healthy as a man. So, my brothers, I urge you, take your fitness and health seriously. Whether it's CrossFit, I hate CrossFit, by the way. No offense to Hussam, he knows who he is. Whether it's calisthenics, whether it's weight training, whether it's swimming, whether it's tennis, whether it's badminton, find something that keeps you physically active and try and do your best to have the highest level of fitness and health that you can at that point in your life. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Chris now.
And this brings us to number 9, which is gratitude. There's a famous saying, I don't remember by who, but it says, you need to have an attitude of gratitude. Unfortunately,
I heard that one.
Nowadays, a lot of people are not grateful for what they have. There's actually a Bible verse in Isaiah chapter 12, verse 3 that says, therefore, with joy shall ye draw water out of the wells of salvation. That is, if you're to receive anything from God, you first of all have to be grateful for what God has given you. Now, what has God given you? You have the absolute gift of life. That is the biggest flex in the world. It doesn't matter what you're going through right now. So long as you have the opportunity to at least change that, that is a huge flex. Unfortunately, in the world that we are in today, a lot of people just keep whining and bitching and complaining, and it gets out of character. You don't want to be that kind of person. Look at what you have. You have life. You have a roof over your head. You can eat food. You have access to clean water. You have access to the internet.
You're watching this video right now, man.
You're watching this video right now.
Why are you bitching?
There's so much information in today's world that you can use to change your life. So there's no reason to whine and complain. And guess what happens? The more you whine and the more you complain, it continues to reinforce that in your head. And then what's happening? You start the downward spiral into being dejected, into being depressed. Right? But a man who wakes up in the morning, a woman who wakes up in the morning and is grateful for everything, thank God you have a can-do, will-do attitude. That is going to be a lot of success for you because you have that attitude of gratitude. Now, with that, I'm going to pass number 10, the last but not the least, down to Coco. Let's go.
All right, so number 10, the last healthy masculine value that you should be embodying if you want to be a masculine man, or if you want to be more masculine in your dealings in life. And that is knowledge, the quest or the thirst for knowledge. Now, as a masculine man, a lot of people are going to look up to you to solve problems, period. If they haven't, they will soon. So you best be ready. And in this age that we are in now, the age of Aquarius, the age of information, the information age, where you can be whatever you want. A man can be a woman can be a man. That's what they say anyway, right? You have no excuse to not know certain things. You really don't. And people will not give you grace. They won't. You're a man. You don't get grace. Women get grace. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that's just the reality. We ain't complaining about it. I'm just telling you what it is. You ain't going to get grace for not knowing something or not knowing how to fix a certain problem. If anything, they're going to kind of relegate you as, this guy's kind of useless. This guy has no utility, right? And the last thing you want to be is a man with no utility. That's a failure, basically. So how do we become a useful man in society? We thirst and seek knowledge. It could be in your respective field of expertise. And it could be a wide range of things. Ideally, as a man, you want to be well-rounded in your knowledge base. You want to know a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. But in your field of expertise, you want to know a lot. And you want to still be learning more things about your field, right? Elon Musk is still researching on how he can land people on Mars. When did he start that project? Years ago. But he's still doing it. Trying to find new ways, right? Because there are knowledge gaps. And there have been knowledge gaps, and there will continue to be knowledge gaps. So, your duty in 2024 and beyond is to make sure that you fill the knowledge gaps that can help you help yourself and the people in your life to get to the next level, to accomplish a goal, or for whatever regard. Be a helpful man by thirsting and seeking knowledge all the time. Never let yourself stop growing in terms of your knowledge base, as we discussed. If you're not growing, you're dying. So always seek to expand your mind, seek to expand the things you know in different areas. Don't be closed-minded. Be open-minded, but with boundaries, not on that woke, not on super woke stuff. I ain't talking about woke stuff, but be open-minded. Don't be rigid in your thinking.
I forget who says this. Maybe it's John Maxwell, but he says that all leaders are readers.
Yeah. John C. Maxwell. Yeah?
John C. Maxwell. Yeah. I think it's him who said that.
Yeah. John C. Maxwell. Very good author. So, like you said, all leaders are readers. So, if you're not reading, you hate reading, you got audiobooks. Grab a couple. You can listen to someone read to you and still get the knowledge. There is really no excuse in 2024, my brother. There really isn't. And if you're a woman watching this, looking to go and advise some male friend or your brother or your cousin or something, tell them, let them know there is no excuse for not knowing certain things in 2024. You will not be given grace. Let them know. And let them know it's because they're a man. Is that sexist? Yes, maybe it is. But it is what it is, right? We ain't complaining. We're just here to give you the truth. So, if you enjoyed this video, if you got value from this video, kindly hit the like button and subscribe and share this with a friend or a family member or acquaintance who you think could benefit from this information. Give us a comment in the comment section, like Chris said. If you have a dispute, we're open to discussion. Who knows? We might make a video topic about what you're talking about in the comments. Who knows, right? So, make an intelligent remark. We'll look at it. If it makes sense, who knows? We might make a video on it, or we may answer your question in another way. But try to comment, right? It helps us. We're a new channel, and we want to reach as many people as possible so that they can get this information and make an impact in their lives so that the people around their lives can be impacted. Because as men, we are catalysts. We really are. And we need to start moving like we are catalysts. We matter. Society has convinced us that we don't matter and women matter more. That's been the programming for the last couple of years, the last decades. But me and Chris are here to tell you that you, on the other side of this screen, matter. You matter to your mother if she's still alive. You matter to your dad if he's still alive. If you have a deadbeat dad, that's a whole different story. But to the people that you matter to them and they love you, right? So be a useful person in these people's lives. Have some utility. Be strong. Be empathetic. All the stuff that Chris spoke about. Embody these things. And you'll be shocked when you look in the mirror one day. I promise you that. And on that note, this is where we bounce. Have a good one. Peace.